All right, let's get into it. Today we are breaking down one of the biggest hair trends that has completely taken over the internet, the butterfly haircut. You've seen it everywhere, for sure. But what is it really? And more importantly, how does it actually work? Let's deconstruct it. So let's start with the question this haircut was basically invented to answer. You know the feeling, right? You want all those gorgeous, bouncy, face-framing layers, but you're absolutely terrified that the second you sit in that chair, you're going to lose all the length you've worked so hard to grow out. It's a classic struggle. Well, this is where the butterfly cut comes flying in. It's a super clever technique that's designed to give you the best of both worlds. It creates this amazing illusion of a shorter, super voluminous cut, all while secretly keeping your length safe in the back. To really get it, we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll talk about what the cut even promises to do. Then, we'll get into the secret sauce, the one technique that makes it all possible. We'll walk through the cutting steps, talk styling to get that big, bouncy look, and then we'll ask the big question, is this cut actually right for your hair? So what's the big sales pitch here? It's actually pretty simple. You get all these beautiful, flowing, feathered layers, especially around your face, without that dreaded length anxiety. It's all about creating dramatic shape and movement on top, while the back stays nice and long. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty, because this is the most important part. The entire magic trick of the butterfly cut comes down to one simple, brilliant idea, the sectioning. Seriously, if you understand this part, you understand the whole haircut. It all starts by splitting your hair into a top half and a bottom half. You make a clean part that goes all the way around your head, kind of like where a headband would sit. Then you take that whole bottom section and just clip it completely out of the way. And here's why that's so key. By physically separating and protecting that bottom chunk of hair, all the intense, short layering is going to happen only on the top. And just like that, your length is safe. Now, before we get to the actual cutting, we have to learn one little piece of hairdresser lingo, over direction. Don't worry, it sounds more complicated than it is. All it means is pulling a section of hair away from where it normally lives before you cut it. Just think about it. If you pull hair from the back of your head all the way to the front before you snip it, that hair had to travel a much longer way. So when you let it go, it's naturally going to be much, much longer than the hair that started at the front. This idea is basically the engine that drives this entire haircut. And this right here, this is the golden rule, the one sentence to remember. You want to keep your length in the back, you pull that hair forward to cut it. You want to keep length on the sides, you pull it towards the middle. It's a beautifully simple principle once it clicks in your head. All right, theory's down. We've got the concepts. Now let's grab our virtual scissors and see how this thing is actually built, step by step. So everything kicks off with a small guide right at the front. This little piece is going to decide how short your shortest layer will be. It's gotten what they call an A-line shape, just means a tiny bit shorter in the very middle and a little longer at the corners. Then you work your way back, taking sections, pulling them forward to meet that guide. See, there's our over direction, and you just connect the dots. You keep the hair lifted up while you cut, and that's what gives you those soft blended layers instead of a hard chunky shelf. Now for that big bouncy volume. It all comes from layering the crown area. For this, you take a section from the very top of your head and pull it straight up to the ceiling. Then you cut a line that goes from short at the front to longer at the back. This gets rid of a ton of weight and basically encourages the hair to lift off your head. After that, all the rest of the hair in that top section gets pulled up to this new guide and cut to match. And what's really cool about this part is how much you can change the final look right here. Check this out. If you cut that top section on a diagonal angle, you get a much softer, more blended look that keeps a bit more length. But if you cut it with a more horizontal, straight across line, you're creating way shorter, more dramatic layers. And that is how you get that super fluffy, 70s Farrah Fawcett kind of vibe. Just a tiny shift in your cutting angle completely changes the style. Okay, so now we have this heavily layered top section and this untouched long bottom section. How do you make them talk to each other? You guessed it, more over-directing. You take a little piece from the top to use as your guide. Then you take pieces from that long bottom part, pull them all the way forward, and cut a clean line that connects your short guide from the top to your long length at the bottom. And here is where the technique just does something kind of magical. Because you're pulling all of that back hair forward to cut it, the hair from the very center of your back has the longest trip to make. So when it all falls back into place, it's automatically longer than the hair on the sides. What does that do? It creates a perfect soft V shape in the back without anyone having to go in and carve it out. It's a built-in feature of the cut. Now, hold on, because getting the haircut is really only half the battle. If you want that iconic, bouncy butterfly wing look that you see all over social media, styling is not optional, it's essential. The cut creates the possibility for volume, but the blow dry is what brings it to life. The go-to method is a classic roller set. You start with a good volumizing mousse to give the hair some grip and memory. You blow dry until most of the moisture is gone, then you go in with a round brush to create that curl and shape. But the most crucial step is this. While each section is still hot from the dryer, you wrap it in a roller. The hair sets as it cools down, so letting it cool completely is the secret to locking in that bounce all day long. Okay, so we know how it's cut, we know how to style it, but let's be real for a second. A haircut is not one size fits all. So now we gotta talk about some of the practical stuff, the reality check. This is probably the #1 question on everyone's mind. I mean, who has time for a full roller set every single morning? So what happens if you just wash it and let it go? The source is super clear on this one. If you don't style it, those layers are going to be very, very separate and distinct. Some people might even say it looks a little choppy. And because you've taken out so much weight from the top, it can get pretty voluminous and kind of puffy all on its own. This cut is designed to add lift, so if you're someone who likes your hair to feel heavy, this is literally the opposite of that. And here's the other big one. What if my hair is on the finer or thinner side? Are all these layers just going to make it look stringy and see-through? That's a totally valid concern, but luckily, the cut can be adjusted. To make this work on thinner hair, the stylist needs to change the technique a bit. For one, using less elevation, so not lifting the hair up so high when cutting, will keep more weight in it. Using blunt, solid lines instead of a ton of texturizing will also make the ends look and feel fuller. And finally, shaping the bottom line into a strong square or U shape instead of that V creates a much thicker-looking foundation. And that really brings us to the big takeaway of this whole thing. Whether it's this haircut or literally any other trend, just blindly copying a set of steps you saw online isn't the point. The real power comes from understanding why you're doing each step, getting the principles of sectioning and overdirection and elevation.
So let's wrap it up with the key points. The butterfly cut's main trick is separating the hair into a top and bottom, which protects your length while you go wild with layers on top. The secret technique that makes it all happen is over-direction, always pulling hair away from where you want to keep it long. And don't forget, that bouncy, glamorous look you see in the photos is all thanks to a really good blow-dry and roller set.
See, when you understand the fundamental why behind a technique like this, you're not just a person following a trend. You become someone who can have an intelligent conversation with your stylist, ask for the right modifications, and really get what's happening. So it just leaves one question. Now that you know how to think this way, what trend are you going to deconstruct next?